Marisol was 19, child of two worlds, her mother, a schoolteacher with stern eyes that held both pride and worry, her father, a luthier who spent his days coaxing music out of wood and strings. Since she was small, she carried that violin, first, tucked under her chin in the living room as her father guided her bow, later, in sloppy high school performances, finally, preparing for what was to be her greatest performance, an audition for the National Youth Symphony. That audition was everything. It would prove she wasn't just her father's daughter, that the hours poring over scales in dawn's light, the calluses on her fingers, the ache in her shoulder, all of it meant something. And for her father, it meant preserving the family legacy. For her mother, it meant ensuring her dreams didn't shatter into something unrecognizable. On the morning of the audition, disaster struck. While riding the early train into the city, Marisol's violin case slipped from the luggage rack. The lock clasp snapped, the case slid into a puddle, water creeping up the wood, soaking a corner. In panic, she retrieved it, but inside, the strings were warped, the bow's hair frayed, and the resonant body dull. Her heart pounded, the audition was hours away. She called her father, voice trembling, "It's ruined." He took a breath, silent over the line. "Bring it home. Don't worry. We'll fix it together." They did. Her father worked in his cluttered workshop, under the golden glow of late afternoon sun, breathing life back into the instrument. He steamed out the warps, restretched each string, reshaped the bow, infused wood oil to reawaken its grain. Outside, Marisol waited in the workshop doorway, heart pounding with doubt and anticipation. Her father looked up. "You remember why you play, Mari?" He asked quietly, sandpaper in hand, smoothing the wood. "Not for perfection. For truth." She nodded, though tears gathered, for the violin looked different now. Not flawless, but honest. By the time of the audition, the hall lights were cold, the judges stern. Marisol sat, violin in place. Her fingers shook, but she started. The first few notes skipped, imperfect. A pitch too sharp here, a falter there. But then, something changed. She closed her eyes. She remembered late nights in her bedroom, warming up, the taste of her father's strong coffee, her mother's proud, soft smile after a school recital. She let all that pour through the violin. The piece she played, fragile at first, became swelling, honest. Imperfect in places, yes, but full of longing, of hope. When the last tone trembled away, the hall was silent. Then, a single clap. Then more. And among the judges, eyes glistened. Afterward, she slipped backstage, throat raw. One judge approached, an older woman with kind eyes. "That violin bore your scars, good. It bore your story. We want you in the symphony." Marisol's knees weakened. She clasped hands with her father and then her mother, who had come without telling, just to watch. Her mother said nothing at first, only hugged her tight. Marisol saw pride, love, a belief that she had for so long needed to earn. The path ahead wasn't easy. Rehearsals were grueling, travel was exhausting. Some audience members criticized that the violin didn't sound perfect, that her tone was raw. Others whispered that she relied too heavily on emotion rather than technique. Marisol would spend nights practicing demanding pieces, doubting herself at every turn. Could she really be enough? Was her voice just noise disguised as art? Her father often met her in the workshop after long days. He'd say, "Technique is music's backbone. But without heart, it's just bones." He would show her old violins he built, some cracked, some patched, some barely able to hold a string, but each one resonated beautifully because it was cared for, because its imperfections told its story. The turning point came during a nationally televised concerto. She was chosen to represent the Youth Symphony in a concert commemorating a city devastated by an earthquake years before, a city still rebuilding. Families would gather. Survivors would listen. For many, music was their refuge, their way of remembering and moving forward. Marisol's heart was heavy. She stepped on stage in a makeshift hall with cracks in the walls, children staring, elders with stoic faces. Her violin, still slightly scarred from that fateful day, glinted under dim lights. She began with quiet tones, a lullaby her mother sang, soft and trembling. The audience leaned forward, the notes fragile but true. Then the melody opened, rose into crescendo after crescendo. Her bow flew, fingers danced, and every imperfect note became part of something larger, an embrace of all that was broken, and all that could heal. By the end, there were no more broken strings, at least none that mattered. Many in the audience wept. A child hugged her mother. A survivor leaned on a cane, eyes closed, letting the music wash over. After the concert, backstage, surrounded by applause, Marisol realized something important: the violin was never meant to be perfect. It was meant to be real. The flaw in its wood, the mark where the clasp broke, the frayed bow, they were part of her story. And her story was not about triumph over others, but about surviving, about choosing to play when brokenness threatened silence. Her mother knelt before her, clasped her cheeks. "You did more than play," she said. "You reminded us why we listen." Her father placed a hand on her shoulder, proud. "You gave voice to what cannot always be said in words." Years later, Marisol still plays that same violin. The case is repaired, more wear marks show. On stage, she sometimes glances at the scar where the crack was healed. Each time she draws her bow, she remembers the day she thought everything was lost. And the day she realized that loss could become beauty if she dared to play anyway. Because music, like life, is not about the perfect, unbroken string. It's about the courage to sound even when you fear you'll shatter. And in that echo, there lies truth, and hope, and the kind of beauty that nobody can ever take away. Final message: in life, as in art, our broken strings are not failures, they are the proof that we tried, that we felt, that we lived. And when we choose to play through the cracks, our music becomes an echo not just of what once was, but of what we still can become.